Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into a topic we all deal with constantly, often without really thinking about the amazing precision involved. It's the intricate language we use to talk about the future.
Hmm.
Think about it. Every single day we're making predictions, right?
Mhm.
Speculating about what's coming next, or maybe just planning for tomorrow. We can't actually know the future, obviously, but our linguistic toolkit for navigating all those possibilities is surprisingly sophisticated.
It really is.
So this deep dive isn't just about, defining words. It's about understanding how these specific phrases subtly shape our perceptions and how we communicate about what's ahead.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here, linguists sometimes call it epistemic modality,
Hmm.
is that it's not just simple guesswork.
Right.
It's about expressing very specific degrees of certainty. And uncertainty, too, of course.
Degrees. Okay.
This precision, it lets us be incredibly nuanced in our conversations. Doesn't matter if it's a weekend plan or, a massive global trend.
That makes sense.
And once you start listening for these little distinctions, uh, you'll hear them everywhere. It can really change how you interpret what people are saying, or even what you yourself are trying to get across.
I love that epistemic modality. It gives a great name to what we sort of intuitively do, doesn't it? And that's exactly what we're going to explore today. We'll journey through, let's say, 3 distinct zones of future talk, starting with those times when we feel, well, pretty sure about what's on the horizon.
Yeah, the confidence zone.
Sometimes, based on what we know now, we feel genuinely confident about something coming up. Not, 100% certain it is still the future.
Of course.
But we're leaning heavily in one direction. And what's really interesting is how our language captures that level of conviction.
Exactly. And these aren't just wild guesses. They're often informed by, solid data, observable patterns, or maybe strong cause and effect links we understand.
Right.
They signal a high probability that lets us anticipate, lets us plan, even without that absolute certainty.
Okay, so let's dive into some of these phrases. The ones that communicate the strong likelihood, the classic one.
Hmm.
Probably.
Hmm.
If you hear, it will probably have a positive impact on the environment. What does that really tell you?
That's a great place to start, because probably signals that, okay, there's maybe a slim chance it won't happen.
Uh-huh.
But the evidence, or just the general feeling, strongly points towards that positive impact. It implies, better than 50-50 odds, often quite a bit better.
Okay.
But without putting a hard number on it, it's a pragmatic sort of assessment.
Got it. And how does that stack up against likely? Like, it's likely that more people will work remotely in the future. Are they basically the same?
They're very close, yeah, close cousins.
Hmm.
But maybe a subtle difference. Likely often feels, I don't know, a touch more formal,
Mm-hmm.
or perhaps more data-driven than probably.
Oh, interesting.
When we say it's likely, we might be hinting that there's more statistical backing, perhaps, or some really clear trends. Think about, the huge shifts in work culture lately.
Right, remote work.
Exactly. That move isn't just a hopeful guess, is it? It's a pretty informed projection. So likely feels like a really good fit there.
I see that. So likely might suggest a bit more objective evidence behind it. What if we want to go even stronger? Expressing almost like inevitability, especially in more formal situations.
Ah, yeah. That's where a phrase like in all likelihood really shines.
Okay.
If someone says, in all likelihood, environmental regulations will become stricter, they're signaling a really, really high expectation.
Almost certain.
Almost.
Hmm.
It's not just based on one trend, but maybe a whole sweep of things. Global talks, policy shifts, public opinion. It makes the outcome seem like, well, almost a foregone conclusion, barring some huge surprise anyway.
Oh.
It definitely carries more weight, more gravitas.
Okay. And for something maybe a bit more casual, but still packing that punch of strong expectation, we often hear chances are.
Yes.
Chances are that technology will keep improving rapidly.
Yep. Chances are is super conversational. But don't let that fool you. It still conveys a strong probability.
Right.
It sort of implicitly asks you to just look at the evidence yourself. I mean, based on history, the current speed of innovation, rapid tech improvement, feels like a pretty safe bet, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It's like a friendly way of saying, look, if you had to guess this.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, and to really underline that a specific scenario seems quite solid, we might use there's a strong possibility. For example, there's a strong possibility that the new regulations will change the way we work.
Yeah, the strong there is doing the heavy lifting.
Right.
It implies the factors pushing towards those changes are significant, they're compelling, they're pretty well established. It's not just a random thought, it suggests a really impactful shift is genuinely on the table. It
Yeah.
points to real forces at play.
Okay, so last one in this group. If someone says it's likely to affect the economy significantly, what's the flavor of it's likely to?
That phrase, "it's likely to," often suggests a kind of causal link or an expected consequence based on how things are already going.
Ah, okay. A consequence.
Yeah. It's likely to affect the economy significantly. That implies a reasoned assessment of how some event or trend is probably going to play out. It's a calculated forecast, usually based on analyzing what's happening right now.
So, what this really means for you listening in is that when you hear these phrases, probably, likely, in all likelihood, chances are there's a strong possibility or it's likely you're getting a pretty powerful signal.
Mm,
The speaker feels pretty confident. They've likely weighed the evidence. It's sort of a heads up to adjust your own expectations.
definitely.
But let's be real. The future isn't always that clear, is it? Most of the time, we're juggling a range of options, exploring different what ifs.
Absolutely.
And this is where our language really opens up. It lets us brainstorm, lets us dream, plan for different outcomes without, putting all our chips on one square.
And that raises a key question, doesn't it? How do we actually talk about potential futures without making them sound more certain than they are? These words are just crucial for staying flexible in how we think, how we plan. They let us get ready for multiple possibilities, which is, well, a sign of really thinking things through critically.
Okay, let's look at how we talk about these outcomes that are plausible, but definitely not certain. We could start with possibly.
Good one.
This could possibly lead to more job opportunities. How does possibly feel different from probably?
Well, possibly suggests a more moderate level of expectation, I'd say, while probably leans strongly positive. Possibly just indicates the outcome might happen. There's no strong reason it has to, no overwhelming evidence.
Okay.
It's a plausible link, a door that could open, maybe, but it doesn't carry that same weight of expectation as probably.
Got it. And then we get phrases that seem to bring in a more personal angle, like, I suppose, and I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, I suppose I might build more parks in the city, or I imagine the new technology will revolutionize education. What's going on there?
Those signal your own sort of informed projections. When you use "I suppose" or "I imagine," you're basically offering your best guess, maybe your personal theory.
Right.
It's based on your own understanding or things you've noticed. It's definitely not a statement of fact. It's more like, here's what seems reasonable or logical from where I'm standing.
Adds a little personal flavor to the speculation.
Okay. And for something maybe a bit more objective, but still clearly speculative, we have "it's possible." Like, it's possible that the cost of living will increase next year.
Yeah, this steps back a bit from personal opinion. It acknowledges that, look, an increase isn't guaranteed, but the conditions for it seem to be there.
Like inflation or supply issues.
Exactly, things like that. So it's a grounded speculation based on potential factors, but still crucially speculative.
What if you want to signal that you're making an informed guess, kind of connecting the dots based on current trends or behaviors you're seeing?
That's a great spot for, I would assume.
If you say, "I would assume people will prefer online shopping over time," you're linking that assumption to things we already see: consumer habits, digital convenience.
Right.
It feels like a logical projection given what we know,
Yeah.
but it still leaves that door open for surprises.
And when our guess is really based directly on observations, things happening right now, we might use, it seems, that inference.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that cities will become more sustainable as technology advances.
Yeah, it seems that is all about inference. You're looking at current efforts, maybe smart city projects, new tech
And
developments.
projecting forward.
Exactly. Projecting that path forward, it's an expectation driven by what you're observing, rather than just pure imagination or theory.
Okay. And to explicitly state there's a real tangible possibility, but not, a certainty, we use there's a chance.
Right.
There's a chance that remote work could become the norm. We're back to remote work.
Yes. It's a good example. That phrase acknowledges the possibility is real. The conditions might be right for it, even if it's all still unfolding.
So it's a serious contender.
It signals that this outcome is a real contender. Yeah. Something worth thinking about seriously.
Now let's hit those classic modal verbs. Could, might, and would. They do so much work in this area, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. The workhorses.
Super versatile. So if you say, the company could expand to international markets next year, what's could doing there?
Could really highlights the ability or the potential for something. The company has the capacity, maybe the opportunity, to expand.
But no guarantee.
No guarantee at all. It just signals a possible action or outcome that's within reach.
Okay. And might. Like, people might start using more electric vehicles as gas prices rise.
Might often introduces a potential outcome that feels linked to a specific condition. In this case, rising gas prices.
Ah, the condition.
Yeah, it suggests a plausible response people could have if circumstances change in a certain way. If X happens, then Y might follow.
Got it. And finally, would. If the trend continues, it would be harder to find jobs in traditional industries.
Would typically spells out a consequence that seems like it would logically follow if a certain condition holds true.
Hypothetical.
Exactly. It describes a hypothetical situation or a likely result based on a specific premise. So yeah, those three modals, could, might, would, they're your direct tools for expressing potential actions, situations, or logical outcomes.
And sometimes we want to be a bit gentler, just sort of float an idea that feels like perhaps. Perhaps the demand for renewable energy will increase in the coming decades.
Yeah, perhaps is soft, isn't it? It invites you to consider something rather than making a firm prediction. It feels quite open-ended, just a thought to ponder.
Then there's could, potentially. This one feels like it really doubles down on the future possibility aspect.
It does.
This could potentially create more opportunities for young professionals.
Adding potentially right after could sort of reinforces that the potential itself is still developing. The creation of opportunities is a possibility that exists, maybe just starting out, rather than something happening right now or guaranteed soon.
Future-focused possibility.
Exactly.
So, think about how you use these yourself. When you're brainstorming a project, maybe dreaming about your town's future, or just wondering, what if? These phrases are your linguistic toolkit for exploring all that possibility, right? They allow for creativity, flexible planning, without overpromising.
That's a great way to put it, a toolkit.
But then there are those times when the crystal ball is just, well, completely foggy.
Yeah.
Some parts of the future are truly opaque. And it's not just okay to admit that uncertainty sometimes, it's actually the most insightful thing you can do.
Absolutely. And this is where critical thinking is just so important. Using these phrases doesn't mean you lack knowledge. It actually highlights the gaps in our knowledge.
Which is valuable in itself.
Hugely valuable. Recognizing what we don't know isn't a weakness. It's a crucial step towards being genuinely well-informed. It prompts us to stay curious, adaptable, open to new data.
Okay, let's explore some phrases that bravely step into that uncertainty, starting with one that combines personal doubt and a tentative opinion. I'm not sure, but I think.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure, but I think traveling will be more affordable in the future.
That structure shows real self-awareness, doesn't it? You're offering a cautious idea, but you explicitly flag your own lack of certainty before you even say it.
Right, up front.
It's honest, it's humble, it invites discussion rather than just making a bold claim.
And what about the very broad phrase, in the future? It seems simple, but often it frames something pretty uncertain.
Yeah.
It does, yeah. Like in the future, we might see fewer people owning cars and more using public transportation.
Absolutely. The phrase in the future is just so vast, so undefined. Any specific prediction placed within it is inherently uncertain unless it's backed by incredibly strong current trends.
And that car example.
That example is very much an it remains to be seen kind of thing. It depends on so much infrastructure changes, personal choices, policies. It lacks a specific timeline, lacks clear drivers. Very uncertain.
Okay. A more direct way to admit difficulty is simply, it's hard to say. It's hard to say whether social media will still be as popular in 10 years.
And that perfectly reflects how fast things change in the digital world, doesn't it? Trends shift incredibly quickly.
Yeah, what's huge today.
Could be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that phrase acknowledges the real difficulty in making firm predictions when things are so volatile, changing so fast.
And when you personally lean against a certain outcome, when you feel it's unlikely.
That's where I doubt comes in handy.
Okay. For example, I doubt people will return to their old work habits after the pandemic.
See, this signals a strong personal stance against that outcome. It's more than just general uncertainty. It's a belief that certain changes, maybe after big events, are just too deep to reverse.
So you're convinced the opposite is unlikely?
Pretty much. You're expressing a conviction that the old way probably isn't coming back.
Moving to a more formal way of acknowledging complexity, we have, it's difficult to predict.
Yes.
It's difficult to predict how the job market will evolve with AI.
And that really captures the unprecedented nature of something like AI's impact, right? The variables are
Yeah,
just countless. They're interconnected, changing constantly,
makes prediction tough.
incredibly tough. So that phrase signals you recognize that deep, profound complexity.
And finally, a very clear, straightforward statement of unknown outcomes. It's uncertain.
Hmm.
It's uncertain whether cities will be able to sustain their current growth rates.
Yeah, and that often links to really big, complex challenges, resources, infrastructure, environment. It highlights that the factors involved are just too volatile, maybe too numerous, for anyone to reach a definite conclusion right now. Signals a genuine lack of clear information.
You know, what's really powerful here is realizing that sometimes the most intelligent, the most honest answer is just, I don't know yet. It's embracing the complexity, not running from it.
It really is. And embracing uncertainty doesn't make us less informed. I'd argue it makes us more agile.
How so?
Well, it forces us to stay open, right? To keep monitoring changes, actively look for new information, and crucially, avoid jumping to conclusions too early.
Which keeps you learning.
It cultivates an adaptive critical mindset. And that is absolutely essential in the world we live in, changing as fast as it does.
Wow. What a fantastic journey through this really nuanced language of our future, from the probablys and strong possibilities for when we feel fairly sure,
Mm.
to the could potentially, and I imagine for exploring different paths,
Mm.
all the way to the it's hard to says and it's uncertain for when things are genuinely foggy.
Right.
It really highlights just how rich our language is when we talk about what's next.
It really does. And knowledge, as we often say, is most valuable when you actually understand it and can apply it. So grasping these linguistic shades isn't just about learning vocabulary. It's about getting a clearer picture of the world, of the claims people are making all around you.
Yeah, it makes you a better listener.
Definitely. It equips you to critically evaluate predictions, to tell the difference between real foresight and, just wishful thinking. And it lets you join in those conversations about the future with much more precision, much more insight.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on until our next deep dive. Next time you hear someone talking about the future, maybe on the news, at work, or just a friend, or even when you catch yourself speculating, pay attention. Which of these powerful phrases are they using? Or are you using?
What does that choice tell you?
Exactly. What does that specific choice of words reveal about the level of certainty or maybe the deep uncertainty that's really being expressed? And how might noticing that subtle linguistic clue shift your own understanding? Or maybe how you respond? Keep listening, keep thinking, and keep digging deeper.